Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins Collections, another exciting episode where we delve deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and their hidden treasures. If you've ever thought that a simple coin could be worth more than its face value, then today's discovery might just blow your mind. We're about to explore one of the most interesting and valuable coins in American history, the United States Washington Quarter Dollar from 1971. Now, at first glance, the 1971 Washington Quarter may seem like just another coin, but for those in the know, this particular quarter is far more significant than it appears. The Washington Quarter series has been a part of American currency since 1932, and it features George Washington, the first President of the United States, on the obverse. Over the years, this coin has gone through many changes, but there's one version that stands out among the rest, the 1971 Washington Quarter. During the time when the 1971 quarter was minted, the United States was transitioning in many ways. It was a time of great social and political change, but also a time when the country was beginning to move away from using silver in its coins. The Washington Quarter, which had previously been made of 90% silver, was replaced by a copper-nickel composition starting in 1965. However, despite this shift in materials, certain Washington quarters from the early 1970s, including the 1971 version, have managed to capture the attention of collectors, and for good reason. The design of the 1971 Washington Quarter remains classic and recognizable, with George Washington's profile on the obverse, and an eagle on the reverse. But what sets the 1971 quarter apart from others in the series is not just its design but the rarity and condition in which it exists today. You see, although millions of these quarters were minted, only a small percentage have survived in excellent, uncirculated condition. Most of them, over time, have been used in everyday transactions, which means they've seen plenty of wear and tear, but for those lucky enough to find a 1971 Washington Quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition, the value of the coin can rise significantly. It's the quality of preservation that drives the price up. A quarter that has been carefully stored, kept free from scratches, dents, or discoloration, can command a premium price in the market. Moreover, just like any other collectible coin, there are some key factors that add to the value of the 1971 Washington Quarter. First, the coin's overall condition is crucial. The higher the grade of the coin, the more valuable it becomes. Coins are graded on a scale from good to mint state, and those in mint state condition are the ones that collectors and investors seek. In fact, some 1971 quarters are even graded as proof, which is a special type of coin that was minted for collectors and has a mirror-like finish. These proof coins are especially rare and much more desirable than standard circulation coins, but it's not just about the condition. If your 1971 Washington Quarter happens to have any unique characteristics, perhaps a rare minting error or an unusual characteristic, it can be worth even more. Errors in coins are highly sought after because they are one-of-a-kind items, and collectors go crazy for these anomalies. Whether it's a double die or a misstruck coin, the rarity of these errors often makes them much more valuable than their standard counterparts. So, you might be wondering, what exactly makes this coin worth so much? Is it just the design or the rarity? Well, both play a role, but the biggest factor that can drive the price of a 1971 Washington Quarter up is simply its uncirculated or proof condition. Finding one in such excellent shape is rare, and that's what makes these coins highly desirable for serious collectors. You might have heard stories of people finding a coin in their change, only to later discover that it's worth thousands of dollars. Well, the 1971 Washington Quarter is one of those coins that can make that story a reality. When a coin has been preserved properly and is in excellent condition, it can easily surpass its face value. In fact, a 1971 Washington Quarter in mint condition can fetch a staggering amount of money on the market today. You're probably thinking, how much could this coin actually be worth? Well, after years of growing demand from collectors and investors alike, a high-quality, well-preserved 1971 Washington Quarter can be worth an impressive sum. The coin's value can reach as high as $73,540 for a particularly well-preserved specimen. That's right, $73,540 for a single coin. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Who would have thought that a coin from 1971 could be worth such a large sum? If you have a stash of old coins lying around, it might be time to go through them and check for any 1971 Washington quarters. So, next time you get a handful of change, take a moment to check for this quarter. It might just be the key to unlocking a small fortune hidden in your pocket. Today, in this video, we're diving deep into the world of the United States Washington quarter dollar from 1979, a coin that's not only rich in history but also holds significant value in the world of numismatics. At first glance, the 1979 Washington quarter might seem like just another coin, but when you take a closer look at its history, design, and rarity, you'll see why this coin is worth far more than just a quarter. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, and it has undergone various changes throughout the years. In 1979, this coin was still a part of the traditional Washington quarter series, but that doesn't mean it's just any other coin in the series. There's something special about the 1979 version that makes it stand out. To understand why this coin is so valuable, it's essential to first look at the time period when it was minted. The late 1970s was a time of significant change in the United States. The country was recovering from economic challenges, including high inflation, and the coinage system was beginning to evolve. The United States Mint had moved away from silver in most of its coins, and by 1979, the Washington quarter was made from a composition of copper and nickel, which was more durable and cost-effective for everyday use. While the composition may seem ordinary, it's the rarity and condition of certain 1979 Washington quarters that have made them highly sought after by collectors. The design of the 1979 Washington quarter follows the classic pattern that's been associated with this coin for decades. On the obverse, you'll find a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, surrounded by the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse side features an eagle in flight, clutching an olive branch and arrows, symbolizing the strength and peace of the United States. This timeless design is one of the reasons why Washington quarters are so beloved by collectors. However, the 1979 Washington quarter is special because of its unique characteristics. While millions of these coins were minted, only a small fraction have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. As with any collectible item, the value of a coin is largely determined by its rarity, condition, and demand. And the 1979 Washington quarter is no exception. When you find a 1979 Washington quarter in near-perfect condition, it's considered a gem in the coin-collecting world. Over time, many of these coins have been used in everyday transactions, resulting in wear and tear that can significantly reduce their value. But if you're fortunate enough to come across a 1979 quarter that's been carefully preserved, perhaps stored in a safe place or held in a coin collection, it could be worth far more than its face value. Another factor that makes the 1979 Washington quarter especially valuable is the presence of certain minting errors. Mint errors are a rare phenomenon in the world of coinage and can drastically increase a coin's value. For example, there are reports of 1979 Washington quarters that were struck with double dies or misaligned designs. These errors are highly prized by collectors because they represent a unique anomaly that's not found in regular circulation. If you happen to own a 1979 quarter with such an error, you could be sitting on a highly valuable piece of history. Now, you're probably wondering, how much could a 1979 Washington quarter actually be worth? Well, if you're lucky enough to have a pristine, uncirculated 1979 quarter, or even better, one with a rare minting error, you could be in for a windfall. The value of a high-quality 1979 Washington quarter can reach an impressive amount. In fact, a well-preserved coin, in perfect condition, can be worth as much as $68,440. Yes, you heard that right, $68,440 for a single 1979 Washington quarter. It's incredible to think that such a small, seemingly ordinary coin could carry such immense value. The rarity of these well-preserved specimens, combined with their historical significance, has made the 1979 Washington quarter one of the most sought-after coins by collectors today. So, what does this mean for you? If you have a collection of old coins or if you happen to come across a 1979 Washington quarter, it's definitely worth checking its condition. Look closely for any signs of wear, and pay special attention to any possible minting errors. Even the smallest variation could make a huge difference in the coin's value. If you're interested in coin collecting, or if you simply enjoy learning about hidden treasures, then the world of rare coins is full of surprises. Who knows? Maybe that 1979 Washington quarter in your pocket is worth more than you ever imagined. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of a coin that you might have overlooked in your change, the United States Washington quarter from 1991. This coin, while relatively modern, holds some serious value in the world of numismatics. You might be surprised to learn that this seemingly ordinary quarter could actually be worth a small fortune under the right circumstances. The Washington quarter is one of the most iconic coins in the United States, and it's been in circulation since 1932. Throughout the years, the design has remained largely the same, with George Washington's portrait on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. However, it's important to remember that even within a series of coins, not every year or minting is created equal. And that's certainly true for the 1991 Washington quarter. In 1991, the U.S. Mint produced millions of these quarters as part of its ongoing circulation coinage, but unlike earlier years, these quarters weren't made of silver. By the 1990s, the Washington quarter had shifted to a copper-nickel composition, which was more cost-effective and durable. Despite this change, the 1991 Washington quarter holds a special place in the coin-collecting world, primarily because of its rarity and pristine condition and its appeal to collectors who are keen on completing specific coin sets. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a modern coin. What makes the 1991 Washington quarter so special? Well, the answer lies in both its condition and its unique characteristics. Like all coins, the 1991 Washington quarter was originally minted for circulation, meaning most of the coins saw daily use and quickly became worn. Over the years, as more of these quarters were used for everyday purchases, the chances of finding one in perfect, uncirculated condition became slimmer and slimmer. But that's exactly what makes certain 1991 Washington quarters so valuable. The key to unlocking the value of this coin lies in its preservation. Coins that have been carefully stored, kept in protective cases, or simply not used in transactions are considered uncirculated coins. An uncirculated coin is one that has no signs of wear, scratches, or any other forms of damage. As you might expect, these coins are much more rare than their circulated counterparts. A 1991 Washington quarter in this condition can be highly sought after by collectors, as it represents a perfect example of the coin's design from that particular year. In addition to pristine condition, there are also certain features and details on the 1991 Washington quarter that could increase its value. For example, some collectors are particularly interested in coins that feature unique minting errors. Minting errors, such as double strikes, misaligned dies, or off-center prints, can make a coin even rarer and more valuable. These kinds of anomalies make a coin stand out from the rest, and collectors love to add such rare finds to their collections. But you're probably still wondering, how much could a 1991 Washington quarter actually be worth? The answer depends on several factors, including the coin's condition and whether it features any minting errors. But for a coin that is in pristine, uncirculated condition, the value can be surprisingly high. Thanks to its rarity and appeal to collectors, a well-preserved 1991 Washington quarter can fetch a handsome price in the market, and here comes the exciting part: the 1991 Washington quarter in perfect condition could be worth as much as $62,430. Yes, you heard that correctly, $62,430 for a single coin. It's incredible to think that a modern coin, one that was minted just a few decades ago, can hold such immense value. But it's the combination of rarity, preservation, and collector demand that makes this coin so desirable. So, if you've got a collection of coins sitting around, or if you happen to find a 1991 Washington quarter in your spare change, take a moment to check its condition. A coin that looks ordinary could be worth much more than you think. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just getting started, the 1991 Washington quarter is definitely one to keep an eye out for. In the world of coin collecting, it's not always the oldest coins that hold the greatest value. Sometimes, it's the seemingly simple and modern coins that can surprise you with their worth. So, the next time you come across a 1991 Washington quarter, remember, it could be the key to unlocking a treasure trove of value. Today, we're diving deep into the world of US coins, specifically focusing on one that many might overlook, the United States Washington quarter dollar from 1978. While it may seem like a typical piece of currency at first glance, this coin is actually a hidden gem in the world of numismatics. You might be surprised to learn that a 1978 Washington quarter in excellent condition can be worth far more than just a quarter. Stick with me as we explore the value and significance of this coin, and you might just find yourself looking at your change in a whole new light. The Washington quarter has been a fixture in U.S. currency since 1932, and it continues to be one of the most beloved coins in the country. Over the years, the coin has undergone slight design modifications, but the fundamental elements have remained constant. The obverse features the portrait of George Washington, the first President of the United States, with the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," surrounding him. On the reverse, an eagle is shown perched, symbolizing the strength and freedom of the nation. This design has become iconic, and the Washington quarter has remained a part of daily life for generations, but the 1978 Washington quarter is special for a few key reasons. To understand its value, we need to take a look at the time period during which it was minted. The 1970s were a time of economic transition for the United States. The country was experiencing inflation, and the U.S. Mint had already transitioned from using silver in most of its coins to a copper-nickel composition. The 1978 Washington quarter was minted using this new composition, which made the coin cheaper to produce but also less valuable in terms of the precious metal content. Despite its relatively low face value and metal composition, the 1978 Washington quarter still has a significant place in the world of coin collecting. Millions of these coins were minted and circulated across the country, but that doesn't mean they're all created equal. Over time, many of these quarters became worn down through daily use, losing their sharp details and luster. So, while they may have been circulating widely, finding one in excellent or uncirculated condition is not as easy as you might think. When it comes to collecting coins, one of the most important factors that determine their value is their condition. A well-preserved 1978 Washington quarter that hasn't been circulated much, or one that has been carefully stored in a protective case, is much rarer than the worn versions that most people are familiar with. The more pristine the coin, the more valuable it becomes. This is especially true for the 1978 Washington quarter. If you happen to have one that is in mint or near mint condition, it could be worth a significant amount more than its face value, but the condition of the coin isn't the only thing that makes it valuable. Certain minting errors or unique characteristics can also add to the value. Errors in the minting process, such as double strikes, off-center prints, or misaligned dies, are rare occurrences that make a coin even more desirable to collectors. These minting errors create coins that are essentially one of a kind, and they often carry a much higher price tag than standard coins from the same year. If you find a 1978 Washington quarter with any of these errors, you could be holding a rare treasure. So, just how much can a 1978 Washington quarter be worth? Well, the answer depends largely on its condition and any potential minting errors. If you happen to own an uncirculated 1978 Washington quarter, or one with a unique error, you could be in for a pleasant surprise. A coin that has been carefully preserved could fetch a price far above its face value. Here's the big reveal: a high-quality, well-preserved 1978 Washington quarter can be worth as much as $67,730. Yes, that's right, $67,730 for a single 1978 Washington quarter in pristine condition. It's amazing to think that a quarter, which was once used for everyday transactions, could now be worth such a substantial amount. Now, before you rush off to check your coin jar, it's important to remember that not every 1978 Washington quarter will be worth this much. The condition of the coin is key, and finding one in perfect or near perfect condition is rare. But even if you don't have one of these high-value coins, it's still worth checking through your collection or any loose change you may have lying around. You never know, you might just have a hidden gem on your hands. The 1978 Washington quarter is a prime example of how a modern coin, which seems unremarkable at first glance, can actually be incredibly valuable when preserved in the right way. So, whether you're a seasoned coin collector or simply someone who's just starting out, make sure to keep your eyes peeled for coins like these. The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and you might just find a treasure worth thousands of dollars right in your own home. Today, we have a real treat for all the coin enthusiasts out there, especially if you're into collecting American currency. You may have heard of the Washington quarter before, but did you know that a specific one from 1982 could be worth far more than its face value? That's right, the 1982 Washington quarter dollar, a coin you might find in your pocket change, could hold significant value for collectors. So, if you're wondering whether that quarter you have lying around could be worth thousands, stick around, because we're about to dive into why the 1982 Washington quarter could be a hidden treasure. Let's start by looking back at the year 1982. The early 80s were a time of economic change in the United States. The country was grappling with high inflation, a growing deficit, and rising interest rates. The U.S. Mint had already transitioned away from silver for most of its coinage, with the Washington quarter being made from a copper-nickel-clad composition by this point. This change in metal composition made these coins cheaper to produce, but they still carried the same iconic design, featuring George Washington on the front and an eagle on the reverse. While these coins were certainly not rare when they were initially produced, what makes them valuable today is their condition, rarity, and the fact that not all 1982 Washington quarters are created equal. Now, you may be wondering, how can a coin that's almost 40 years old be worth more than just 25 cents? The answer lies in how rare it is to find a 1982 Washington quarter that's in pristine condition. Like all coins, the 1982 Washington quarter was circulated widely and used in everyday transactions. Over the years, many of these coins have been worn down by constant handling, exposure to dirt, and being dropped in pockets and coin jars. However, not all of them suffered that wear and tear. Some were carefully preserved or stored away, untouched for years, and these are the coins that collectors are after. So, what exactly makes a 1982 Washington quarter valuable? First, it's important to understand that coin collectors place a lot of importance on the condition of the coin. Coins that have been kept in perfect or near perfect condition are much rarer and more valuable than those that have been circulated. In the case of the 1982 Washington quarter, those that have been well preserved and remain in uncirculated condition are highly prized. There's another factor that could make a 1982 Washington quarter even more valuable: mint errors. Errors during the minting process are incredibly rare, but when they happen, they can make a coin highly desirable to collectors. For example, if a 1982 Washington quarter was struck with a double die, misaligned strike, or any other unique error, it could command a premium price. These errors create a distinct variation of the coin, and collectors love to own these rare, one-of-a-kind pieces. It's also important to note that the value of a 1982 Washington quarter isn't just about its historical significance or the metal used to create it. The Washington quarter series is one of the most widely collected sets in the United States, and collectors are always on the lookout for specific years, especially those in excellent condition or with errors. The 1982 Washington quarter is one of those coins that has become more sought after as time passes, especially among collectors who want to complete a full set of quarters from the 1980s. So, how much can a well-preserved 1982 Washington quarter actually be worth? It's not just a coin you would exchange for a simple quarter, the value can be much higher. A mint-condition 1982 Washington quarter can be worth as much as $60,630. Yes, you heard that right, $60,630 for a single 1982 Washington quarter. This might seem unbelievable, but it's the result of a combination of rarity, collector demand, and the unique qualities of certain coins that have been carefully preserved or contain minting errors. This price isn't the norm for every 1982 Washington quarter out there. Most of these coins are still worth just 25 cents, but if you happen to have one in perfect condition, or if you discover one with a rare minting error, you could be holding on to a small fortune. It's always worth checking your coin collection or spare change to see if you have any valuable coins that might be worth much more than you initially thought. Coin collecting is a fascinating hobby, and there's always a thrill in discovering the true worth of a coin you thought was just another piece of currency. The 1982 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how a modern coin can surprise you with its potential value. So, the next time you come across a 1982 Washington quarter, take a moment to inspect it closely. If it's in great condition, or if you happen to spot any minting errors, you could be in for a huge surprise. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new discovery. Thanks for tuning in, and happy collecting.